Koka sunarai sunarayanti. 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 Koka sunarai sunarayanti.
Hello, hi, welcome to this new episode of the Mango TV podcast. Today we have very interesting person, Esperide. Esperide Ananas Amethyst, PhD, psychosociologist with 2 MAs in literature and communication. Esperide is a spiritual healer, coach, and meditation instructor. She's a consultant for international companies and institutions in projects connected to sustainable development, personal growth, creativity, and future scenarios. Coach and storyteller, Esperide has been conducting research on the path of time for nearly 30 years, helping many people around the world to remember their other lives. Her work is inspired by the tradition of Damanhur, a school of knowledge and a spiritual movement known for the Temples of Humankind, an artwork dedicated to universal mythology. Welcome, Esperide.
Thank you. Hello, everyone.
So, I would like to talk to you today about building community and why it's important and why it's necessary. But maybe briefly, let us know your experience at Damanhur.
Yes, so 30 years ago, almost exactly to this day, I decided to become a citizen. So this quite extraordinary experience that is called Damanhur. Damanhur means a city of light. And the name contains the seed of the mission, the idea of the founders of Damanhur, because when I joined 30 years ago, when I joined the experience, it had already been in existence for 17 years, because now we are in our 47th year. So the idea was to create the seed of a new civilization, not just community, but what does it mean to think about life in all the possible aspects from birth to death, and also the time that connects those 2 points, when we're born, when we die, and maybe when we choose to come back again. And so everything that stays in that container, which is everything in life, was rethought, was redesigned, thinking what would it be like to live a fully spiritual life turn into practical actions for the new times they're coming. So this idea of the future. And as you know, we don't think as human beings. We always remember, and then based on our interpretations, we project and we think we're thinking, but we're just projecting our experience. So as we were thinking so much of the future, we had this idea that maybe we can actually remember also the future. And so creating a reality that is based very much in the essence of the ancient traditions, making them new because we feel there is something in the future calling us. And I think that this something in the future calling us is now calling the whole of humanity. It's like a new zeitgeist, a new spirit of the time, even a new archetype of how we can live together. And it's a yearning that so many people are feeling today, because we are now at a time in which being with others is making it possible to really change things. And there is no doubt that things are changing. So we can be passively waiting for things to change or try to transform them. And if we want to transform them, it's much easier and better to do it with others, because my uniqueness can be exalted only when I am with others that are different from me. So again, this is also a spiritual way to look at the importance of inclusion and the importance of diversity. And this, I think, can be addressed and recreated much better in community. And by community, I mean a group of people that share an impossible dream, a great dream, and then every day they check the practical steps to make this dream real.
Why? That's so interesting. So, but why do you think that our, single nuclear family model is, if you can say, is failing us in some way? Why do you think there is this need of community today? What went wrong in a non-community paradigm, you think?
Well, that's an interesting question. Well, it's not that I think that the nuclear family is not working. It's obvious that it's not working. The rates of divorce are very, very high all over the world, unless there is a different social context in which the family is larger than just two people with their children. So I think that it is possible to still have that model if someone feels that that's the model. But even having a nuclear family within a wider context of supports makes life easier and happier for everyone. So in Damanhur, we do have, what you would call nuclear families, father, mother, and children. Normally, though, they live with other people also, very often with other people with children, the same age or as close as possible. So the children grow together. There is no this feeling of being alone, because children need other children and children need a community to really fully bloom, because otherwise parents risk to they don't risk, it often happens that parents project on their children their expectations, their fears, their whatever, together with their love. Sure, the love is there, but what if you could have the love of many more adults and not only the projection of the negativity of your parents that becomes so intensified if you are in such a small context. So I think going back to this idea of the tribe, but with a modern understanding of the tribe. Again, not just the tribe because you were only born there, also because you have people that share the same ideas that come and create something with you. So a very modern idea of the tribe.
Like people that are not interested in living in community would say that they can choose their friends, they can choose their time to spend time with them, maybe even with a common dream in some sort of office or cultural center, but they like their privacy, they like to come back home to their own space, and it seems, I don't know when we stop living in society. Probably with the Industrial Revolution or.
Well, I would just like to say that living in community doesn't mean that you cannot have your own space. In Damanhur, we have several options of how you want to live. You can choose to live in the traditional Damanhurian way, which would be larger homes with more than one family unit, many different ages. But there are also people that have their own spaces and they join the activities of the community from there. But what makes the difference in a community, rather than say, I just have my friends in my life, is that we all share a common dream. We're all there to try to create the seed of a new civilization. And this new civilization has to have enough diversity also in how we live. But we all share the same idea. This is the key. And people that maybe only have their friends are not interested in this moment in their life of creating a new civilization. Here, the thing is, do you want to create a new civilization? Then communities is indispensable steps. You don't want to? It's okay. There are, other important things that you can do to change the world, to bring innovation. But creating a new civilization, you don't do that alone.
Yes. Okay, this is a very important clarification. So living in community is not for everybody. You need to have a particular calling in try to explore a different way to live together, which is not based on private property and competition.
Why not? There could be private property and there could be competition. It depends what they're for. So in Damanhur, we do have private property. We also have the most important things like our temples, the gardens, the forest, the land of the school. Those are owned by foundation. So those are the commonwealth. And then there are people that have their own homes. We have our own cars. So it's always a matter of balance. When we started, it was much more kibbutz style. So yes, everything was shared. It was necessary in those years. We were talking about the end of the 70s, mid-70s, end of the 70s, to create community. Now we have a very different model. So like societies, community also evolved. The important thing is that, again, I repeat, that you always have this impossible dream. And for us, it was, how can we be the seed of a new civilization? And it is for us, and it is the same ideal for all the well-established communities around the world. This we all share.
Yes. I think that what happened with the general discontent we feel now for the way our society in the West is structured, I think is linked from this idea of the glorification of the mind, with Descartes and this idea that with the enlightenment, with this, I understand that we needed to come out of the misery and the how do you say, the superstition of the Middle Age. So this idea of the supremacy of the mind was important in the 17th century, but I think we went too far. I think we forgot the sacred, we forgot the mind, body, and spirit integration. And so we have developed this neoliberal capitalism that reward this detached problem-solving approach, very individualistic. And I think this has created a lot of diseases. This Johann Hari, this English writer, spent 10 years studying the cause of depression, and he found out that at the end, most of the cause of depression is really lack of connection and lack of community, and I would say lack of purpose. This idea of material accumulation as the main purpose, I think, has created definitely among the young generation a lot of discontent, and I can feel it. And here in Ibiza, there is a lot of attempt of building community, and specifically for our listener that knows us a little bit, Mango TV has been always interested in this idea of living in a different way, integrating the mysticism. We have been trying to develop a TV show called Post-Capitalistic Society now for a while, having one host spending 1 month in different community. So this is an important topic. So why don't we go back now, after this brief general introduction, into the nitty-gritty of how Damanhur works, the structure, the governance, the financial, the day-to-day. Can you give us a little bit of an outlook of how this community works?
Sure. And I'd like also to elaborate a little bit on what you were saying now, so that we can go into this. Because I think that this idea that we can be happy while we're disconnected, it's also really rooted in ignorance. Because there's nothing on this planet that is not a community. If we think of our body, we think of we're an eye, but there's not an eye. I mean, we are trillions of cells organized in smaller in larger and larger communities. So the cell and then the group of cells, the organs, the whole body, but there is a constant communication between the different organs of our body. Otherwise, it would not be in existence. So there is a constant dialogue, and we are really a community. Nature is a community. We cannot live without nature, so we are a community with nature. So this idea that we can be separate is not only, detrimental to us, it's also really based on ignorance. So in Damanhur, to develop everything that you were now describing, we looked at nature, and we look at the fact that we're always interdependent, and that there is always in our body, every organ has a role. They have different roles, but they're all important. So if I were to ask you, what is more important, Giancarlo or the bacterial flora in your guts? You can't really say that, because without those, 2 kilos of alien beings that you have in your guts, you would not be existing. But what we can say is definitely that Giancarlo has a higher level of complexity. So you integrate many more aspects. They are a part of you. So when we were building Damanhur, we looked at this. The idea is we need to build structures where we have bodies, organisms, groups of higher and higher complexity that carry out functions of higher complexity, but everything is just as important. So this is a different way of looking at things. So we are a model where we have several organs, and then we have people that we elect to harmonize, make sure that the decisions are all made in the same direction. So I'll give you a practical example how we work now, and we've changed many, many times over the years, because we went from being 13 people to 600 with 3 generations. So now we have children born of children in Damanhur, and we really have everything. We have a very advanced medical center that integrates alternative medicine with official medicine, and our doctors also work in the local hospitals, and they're very active for the policies of the region Piedmont where we are in counseling, giving ideas how these two things can be integrated. We have a farm. We have schools for our kids from 0 to 13 years of age. So we are very complex. We really wanted to create a society. We are in a vast valley, and so we have about 20 settlements. Not just in one place, and then there are the local people in between. That was also another choice. We didn't want to be just in one place with a gate and be isolated. We want to have our own land, but also be in the life of the valley. So say that we have 3 homes that are located in the same area, say in the forest. So these 3 houses, each one of them would choose a representative. These 3 representatives of the homes always meet with another person chosen by everyone that belongs to that particular area, even when they don't live in those houses. Okay, so also everyone who's in territory but interested in that project. So say it's the land of the forest. Everyone interested in taking care of the forest, no matter where they live, would belong to this project. And we have meetings, we have weekly Zooms, we have 1 monthly meeting in person, celebrations, and lunches, dinners. So we keep the fabric of this community going. Then the representatives of them will meet with the representatives of all the other regions of Damanhur weekly. So there is a constant exchange of information. And then we have 2 people that we elect every year to take all of this elaboration, dreams, decisions, and make them into the vision for the whole of Damanhur, which they constantly share and discuss with 6 people that are the Council of the Wise.
Chosen by the founder?
They were not elected. They were chosen. When our founder died, he chose 6 people that he felt could hold the spiritual container. And they can change. So one of them has already changed.
And how many people, how big was Damanhur when Falco passed away?
7 years ago, it was more or less the same that we're now. We were more about 6, but it was a very different Damanhur, because when our founder died, he said, everything we've done so far, everything you've done so far with me, now you have to do very differently. My going, it's a change of an era also for Damanhur. He also made it very clear that in the future, the consciousness that he was hosting in his physical body would come back in a group, in the community. He said, don't expect the future is not going to be more a time of avatars, of great, spiritual teachers that have everything in them. This is over for humanity. It's a new time. The new consciousness will come in community. So this is another important aspect why it is so important to create spiritual magnets around which people can organize their lives, orient their growth, and really create a new future.
And when Falco nominated these 6 people, the other 594 didn't object.
Why would we object?
No, some people would have felt they had what it takes to be part of this.
Damanhur doesn't work like this. It's like the human body. Those who are a liver don't want to be the heart. They know they are the liver. And also because the system is so well articulated, the 2 people that we elect, they change. So I could say, hey, I want to be one of Damanhur's. We use a beautiful word that is part of this magical, sacred language that we use. And the word is nial. It's not Italian. Nial, which means the holders of the common thought. So for us, it's very clear that those people we elect are not the ones directing, are the ones that can create the container of the common thoughts. And then they discuss with the representatives of every community, and then they share their ideas with the Council of the Sages. So there is a constant interaction. Everyone always has a voice.
The Council of the Sages is the 6 people.
Yes.
And you told me the other day that one of the 6 decided that didn't feel the...
After 5 years, he said they wanted to do something different, to develop his own studies more, and he wouldn't have enough time. And so the other 5 chose another person.
Together?
Yes.
Together.
Yes.
And but so normally the Council of Sage is for life, unless someone feels to step down?
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
But so
for now, I don't know. We've had this only for the last
7 years.
9 years. So we don't know. we'll see.
And I think that also there was a trust in Falco, that he had the vision that this is the right group.
Absolutely. And Falco did also something else, which is really quite out of the ordinary. So Falco was an artist. He was a healer, but he was also a painter and a writer, and most of all a painter. And so his way of looking at reality was always, not linear. So when he died, he created this structure. He said, change everything. And then he left a series of letters for us that we're still receiving. And he entrusted these letters to two people, and mostly one woman with an assistant. And he told her, you have to see which events happen, because if event A happens, you read this letter. If event B happens, you read this other letter. And for each letter, we know there are 6 different versions. So he created a game in the future. He was looking at the possible timelines of Damanhur, what could possibly happen. Now we're almost 10 years later, and we're still receiving letters according to what's happening. So I don't know how he could do that, but obviously he had an interesting time vision. And so this also interacts with us.
So who sends the letter?
This woman.
That is a specific woman.
Yeah, he gave them all to her. He dictated them to her. And so she knows, oh, this is happening. And sometimes things are connected to crazy stuff, like Falco left something to tell us specifically if a sphere of light was going to be seen on the moon. So that seemed very crazy 10 years ago. And then a few months ago, a sphere of crystal has been discovered on the moon. We read it on the newspaper. And so this woman said, oh, interesting. So this is what Falco says. So here's a letter. So the game was with what's going on in Damanhur and what was going on for humanity.
Yeah. I want to talk more about Falco when we're going to talk about the temples, but just to stay on the structure. So there is, let's say, the Council of Sage, the 6 people, then there is a different department, let's call them. So you mentioned the forest, there's probably the temple, there's probably a relationship with the outside, education.
Yeah, but this is more the organizing, of everyday activities. It's not so much on the governance. You were asking me about the governance. So the governance, we have the Council of Sages. So we have the 2 people that are elected.
Yeah.
We have the representatives of each regions, and they are the governance.
How many regions there are?
We have now 4. 4 different regions. And then
by theme. So one is forest.
More than by theme, I would say by geographical location. But yes, more or less, they have different activities. So yes, one is connected to the temples and our sacred forest.
Yes.
We have another one that is connected to sustainability, very strongly connected to sustainability. We have another one that is connected mostly to agriculture. And then we have another one that is where the first settlement was created, which is where most visitors come. So we have, an amphitheater for music, for concerts, for weddings. We have
social.
It's social spiritual.
Social spiritual.
Social spiritual.
So just to repeat, social spiritual.
Because social is everywhere. I mean, all of these experiences are people living together, working, taking care of the land. So I would say that one is more about the container of the history. So when you come there, you feel the 37 years of history, because that's where it started.
And that's where the visitors,
when you arrive, that would be the first exposure is to understand Damanhur. We also have a ritual circle there where we celebrate the solstices and the equinoxes. So it's also a place for the great celebrations.
I see. So to repeat is there's the forest, there is the temples.
Temple and forest are together because they're the same. The temples and the forest for us are the same thing. So this spiritual ecosystem is composed of sacred spaces out of us, which are the temples, and the forest, that is the antennas with the cosmos connected on the temples. Right on top is the skin of the temples. And then, of course, as humans, as we are building the temples, meditating in the temples, the visitors that come. So all 3 components need to be there.
And then the sustainable activity, the social, spiritual welcome center, if you want, that takes the history of Damanhur. So and
then the agriculture, the farm, the permaculture, all of that.
And so 4 of this area, if you want, have one leader.
It's not exactly a leader; it's a coordinator. But yes,
responsible coordinator.
Yes.
And it doesn't. So and the 6,
he or she, because
he or she, of course. And so the six sage meet with the coordinator every week, every month.
Yes, sometimes even more often.
More, if there is things.
There is a public meeting with also all the citizens between them and the sages every Thursday evening.
And the 600 citizen, it's compulsory to participate to the meeting? No. Okay, but so let's say there is a decision.
But then if you don't participate in the meetings and you don't know what's going on, then you don't complain about a decision was made and I didn't know. So, a democracy is always based on participation. Holacracy, how we want to call it now, is always based on participation. Yeah. And this is what makes it so challenging, because we humans are so used to having someone making decisions for us. So this is also one of the challenges that we have. Yeah. We do not have so many people they really want to have roles of social responsibility.
Yeah. But okay, for example, I want to really try to be practical. Okay, let's assume that the agriculture coordinator say, okay, guys, we need to now plant this other crop because this one doesn't work. I want to do a crop rotation. I want to put animals. We need to start using, goats and pigs and donkey, and it comes with a budget. So he goes to the sage and say, guys, for this year...
No, the sages have nothing to do with money.
Okay.
This is the spiritual council. So with the sages, they might...
So where does he go, the agriculture coordinator, with his new plan?
He might go to the sage, or she might go to the sages to see, do you think that having goats and this crop and this is in harmony with the land, is spiritually in harmony, is it okay? If the sages say, oh yeah, or maybe, why are you putting this crop that has nothing to do with the tradition of the valley and is going to create problems? It requires too much water. I'm making stupid examples. Yeah. So they would be discussing these aspects. Then the budget would be discussed with the Nial, with the ones that coordinate the decisions of the community. And also they would have to come up with a budget. It's not that they go and say, okay, give me the money. They would have to go and say, we want to do this. This is how much we can cover. It's all of it. If it's not all of it, we would have a discussion within the whole community. Is this crucial? Is it something where we want to invest the money? And then part of the money that we as citizens every month offer to Damanhur could be allocated there.
Okay, I want to go deeper on the financial, but just to finish my example. So the Neal is one person? Or
two people.
Two people. And they are elected?
Every year.
They
are the holders of the common thought. That's what Neal means.
Yeah. And do they usually get renewed, or they change?
Depends. We have times in which Damanhur is very stable and events around us don't change so much, and then we've had people in charge for the longest one stayed for 7 years.
Okay.
These times, with all the drastic changes we had with the pandemics and this we've changed more often.
Yes, I see. Okay.
Also because now it's a new start, so we actually elected a second generation, a young man who was born in Damanhur, and we felt this was important to have new energy, new eyes of someone that has been in Damanhur throughout their life. But they also, he went around the world. He was one of our representatives to connect with all the other communities in the world for the young generation. So he's seen a lot of the community world and the world. He has a master's degree in international affairs. And we thought, okay, this is the time.
Amazing. Okay, so just to stay with my example, just to create some practical examples. So let's say that our agriculture coordinator has this budget of 100,000 euro. The sage agrees because it's in harmony with the valley and with the spirit of Damanhur. Then he goes to the Neal. He sits down and there's a conversation, and the Neal have the power to approve 100,000 expenditure.
If they have the money, they would take this to the whole community of Damanhur.
To the 600 people. Yeah. To the planetary committee.
Yes, because actually now we also have members of because we're a spiritual movement, we're a spiritual school and a school of initiation. So we have initiates that belong to our school and support us all over the world. So some of the decisions would also be shared on a specific chat and many channels that we have with them. Mm-hmm. Probably not the one on agriculture, because that's very local. But if we were to make other decisions on, for instance, we changed the governance some time ago. They were also involved. So we added the participation of their representatives. That was never done before in Damanhur. So it depends on what it is, but it's never decided. Nothing is ever decided unless citizens know before this is being discussed.
I mean, you really have to count for them to be reasonable, because 600 people commenting on the different crops can be a nightmare, right?
Exactly, they don't. That's why they don't.
So,
but they would know we have a plan to restructure agriculture. We need to do it for this and this and this reason. And this is how much it's going to cost. And this is how it's going to happen.
And the coordinator, they're also voted every year.
Yes.
So if the coordinator from agriculture keep on making mistake, he's not going to be re-elected.
But it's very difficult that any coordinator works alone. The coordinators work always with everyone that lives in the community. This is why we are a federation. This is why we keep dividing. So there is a constant everyday dialogue. Like I have, 2 different Telegram chats just for my community. One for the spiritual activities relating to the temples and the forests, and the other one for the practical things like decisions like this.
I see. Okay. That's fascinating. So we discussed the governance, we discussed the finance. I mean,
the governance is not finished. We have more.
Okay, let's finish on the
governance. An
governance.
important thing is to understand also, we have a constitution. So when we're talking about any decision being made, including by the sages, so their assessment is always in conformity with the constitution, which for us is a spiritual tool, which says how we want to live, what are the principles that we choose to live, and that every citizen of Damanhur has signed, physically signed, because we don't want anyone to say, oh, but I'm living here, I didn't know these were the values. This is very important for every community. Everyone that wants to start a community, decide what are the values, write them down clearly, have people commit spiritually, not only materially, also spiritually to those values. So everyone that becomes a new citizen of Damanhur will read the constitution, study also why we have this constitution, because we've changed it 15 times from the beginning.
So who wrote it, the first version?
The first version was created by the first community.
The 2030.
Yeah, in the beginning, but then we keep changing, and there is, for us, it's part of a spiritual school. So the constitution is discussed in families, in meetings, in groups. But when we vote for the final constitution, for us is a spiritual act.
But so, can you tell a little bit what's in this constitution?
Well, all the principles that we want to apply in how we live. For instance, the fact that Damanhur is there to bring, to create a seed of a new civilization, that every citizen consider themselves as brothers and sisters, and we help each other. That the children are cared for, respected, and educated by everyone. So everyone needs to feel responsible for this. That we understand that we live in harmony with nature, and nature is not just things, it's also the nature spirits. So there is a whole spiritual ecosystem that we are to respect. There is the principle, for instance, that our body is a temple. And so we don't use any substance, any excess drugs, any excess of alcohol, food, or anything that can damage the temple. That is our body.
Beautiful.
And that also that we are willing and eager to help other communities develop around the world.
Beautiful. And so, sorry guys, I'm going to keep on asking boring, very practical questions. So let's assume someone wants to has an idea for amending the constitution. What is the process?
You would need to find other people that think in the same way.
Like a majority, 300 people?
No. Just a group of people.
Yeah.
And then if this seems reasonable, you would present it to the other organ that we have, which is the council, Collegio di Giustizia, so the Council of Justice.
I see.
And they are the ones that in the end say, yes, okay, it's been approved, and it's deposited by them. So every decision that is made in Damanhur, from the constitution to the rules of each community, which are different from each other, is officially deposited in the hands of the College of Justice. There are 3 people elected every year, and if any Damanhurian has a problem that they cannot solve, they would go to the College of Justice and say, hey, Giancarlo and I, we can't agree on this. What is your opinion? Once the College of Justice makes a decision, is the decision. So we don't go back to, say, oh no, but we don't agree. So we give them the authority to investigate the matter and then make a decision, and also see how this, in case this interaction between you and I created some damage to us or to other members of the community, how this can be readdressed.
Amazing. I want to explore more the justice, of course. But so I think, did we finish the governance?
Well, this is part of the governance. Yes.
Exactly.
So the governance also has this. Yes.
Of course. To just finish on the finance. So you mentioned that if the agricultural project, for example, is approved by the sessione plenaria, the whole community, then the Damanhurian give part of their income to. How does the finance work?
So Damanhur is not a communist entity. So everything is a company. So the agriculture also, they are a legal company, a farm, according to the Italian regulations for agriculture. We have, we have associate, for instance, the temples are a non-profit. So when you come to Damanhur, you want to visit the temple, there is a fee which help us maintain the temples and also cover the cost of the insurance and the people that take you to the temples, which is very minimum, because for us the temples anyways, most of what people give goes to save to maintain the temples and make sure that they're there and that we can maintain them and keep adding art to them. And so each entity would be a different entity according to what it is. And they have to be able to function, the healing center, for instance, it's a healing center registered according to the Italian laws for healing. We have jewelry stores that make special energetic jewelry. They are a company. The activities.
But who owns the jewelry and the healing center? It's owned by
Damanhurians.
Damanhur by an LLC, by a limited company.
It depends what they are. Some are, as I said,
some are non-profit. Yeah,
exactly. It depends on what is their activity and in accordance to the Italian law. Yeah. The services for the community, like the receptionist, some people of the welcome center, are under the umbrella of this new law passed in Italy that is social enterprise. Mm-hmm. But these are really Italian things. But, in every country, a community has to see, okay, what is possible. But I don't know of any country where the status of community is recognized. So in Italy, it isn't. So we couldn't have things belonging to the community or companies belonging to the community because it doesn't exist as a legal entity.
It could be a trust, a foundation.
Right. So we have a foundation also for, making sure that the most important real estate assets and also
the temples.
Yes, and also the temples, the sacred forest, the farm, the things that really identify Damanhur, that we want to be there forever on that land, protected, they belong to a foundation, and also part of our knowledge. So what is the unique knowledge, the wisdom, the IP that Damanhur has produced over 47 years. That has been deposited also in the foundation.
I understand. But and again, sorry for the boring question. Let's say that the healing center and the jewelry make a profit at the end of the year. They pay their taxes to the Italian government, to the Italian IRS, and then this profit goes where?
After they've paid the people that work there.
That's before. That's net profit.
Whatever is left, they choose what they want to do.
The worker of the...
Yeah, absolutely.
So they can buy themselves a Mercedes?
They can.
But they don't.
Well, what would the point then of choosing to live in a community that is dedicated to building temples? Yeah. Maybe they can do that and the other one. Yeah. But
usually this private enterprise profit might be reinvested in the community in some fashion.
Yes, in some projects that they like.
Yeah.
In some project that they choose. Yeah. We also have, a part of individual citizens that we offer money. I make extra money, I offer for something project that we want. And we have then a basic shared fixed amount for the citizens that live in the communal homes also. So they support also so this depends what kind of citizen you want to be.
Yeah.
When Damanhur is not like you can only do it one way. Yeah. There are those who choose to be fully community. There are those who choose
to be entrepreneur. Yeah.
No, but also even if you are an entrepreneur, you can decide to be an entrepreneur and decide I live in one of the Damanhurian homes and I'm more communal also in my income, or you can decide I'm a Damanhurian because I want to be in this spiritual school, but I have my own home. I'm a very successful entrepreneur and I want to choose when I want what I want to support. So we have this formula too.
Interesting. I love the flexibility.
Yeah, very, very flexible because everyone is different and everyone also has different needs. There are certain Damanhurian citizens that need more space, so they want their own space. Other, they don't care. They can be very happy in a small room, but give them more time to make music because that's what they want. So we have discovered that we're very different. And in this diversity and the respecting diversity, you can find happiness and balance. While at the same time, all sharing the same values. So I know that every Damanhurian that is there is like me, dedicated to this new world.
But for example, for the school and the food, what is the model there? Is
But depends what you're talking about. Like which food? The food for each family, the people who live in the family share the food. And they
from the local produce.
If they can. Some things that we don't produce, we go to the supermarket. But we have created our own supermarket so that we can also have the best choice of organic or local stuff right in our community.
But so every Damanhurian needs to have their own income?
Yeah.
I see. Okay.
Absolutely. Okay. And everyone that joins Damanhur needs to have their own income. Sometimes there are positions open in our companies. If they aren't, people need to figure out how they're going to do it.
Amazing. I really love this model because, like in Pachamama, in Tamera, usually they ask you to leave everything behind. That it's this, fully taken care of. Also in Oroville, you have this fake money. In Damanhur, everything works with euro.
Well, okay. So again, when Damanhur started, it was also like that. So when I joined Damanhur, everything that I owned, I gave to the community because it was much more communal. But we realized at a certain point of our development that was not possible to continue develop. Because if you keep with that model, it's just impossible because then you would have people that want to be more entrepreneurial. They can't do it because they're put down. There are others that never will be. And if you don't tell them, but look, you also have to take care of yourself, they will never be active in that aspect, which is also an important part of our growth. That I take care of myself. I'm not just sitting here and expect Giancarlo to work for me. So all of these things, if you have them in the beginning, it's very important to have a common container in the beginning. But then as the community grows and wants to become a society, you have to allow for more diversity.
Absolutely.
We've had for a long time an alternative currency system, which is not fake money. It's very important. We would not have Damanhur now if we hadn't had it. We had to stop using it because of the pandemic. So when you create an alternative currency system legally, it has the same value of the euro for us. So it's called credit, to remind each other that when we use money, we're trusting each other. That's all money is. It's a common trust in something as a means of exchange. So we had euros exchange into creditors when people came to Damanhur, and also part of us, we were paid in creditors, which was legal because as it has the same value of the euros, it was, for taxations or buying things, it was all registered as if they were euros. And this system is fantastic to increase wealth. It's indispensable to increase wealth in a community. But when we...
But why?
Why? Because you create that money. Is not coming from an outside source. You're actually creating it based on how much trust and exchange there is within the community. So you give me €1, I give you one creditor. You go to Damanhur, you spend it in the supermarket. The people from the supermarket spend it at the hairdresser. The hairdresser spends it on a course in meditation. The university uses it to buy food for the people that go to the seminar. So the more this one creditor is going around, every time is multiplied. And the euros I have to buy everything that a community cannot produce or do. So this system works wonderfully. It's been used, for instance, extensively in South Africa. They help rural communities a lot with this system because, for instance, I'll give you an example that I know of South Africa because I was in a conference with talking about this with experts from around the world. So there were rural communities in South Africa where, they were giving them money from the government, the rand, the official money. But they calculated that within maximum a week, that money was back into business of Johannesburg because people had to buy things from outside. So what they did, they said, we're going to create an alternative money. We're going to give you more than what we were giving you in rent, but you can only spend it within the community. So that obliged them to start creating activities.
Yeah.
And then within a short time, they started having a local economy, which is what we did in Damanhur.
Yeah.
So originally, when the credit was created, it was a spiritual and political decision of the Damanhurian citizens to have less things from the outside and concentrate on what they could create there, which of course was much less than what they had before in terms of variety. But this is also what made it possible for us to become stronger, more resilient, and with a completely different idea of the economy.
Yeah.
So why did we stop it with the pandemic?
Because it fostered localization.
Exactly. Why would we stop it with the pandemics? Because we were in lockdown for 2 years.
Because all the shop closed.
Exactly. So now we're looking at how we can bring it back again sustainable. It has to be sustainable because if you just put money that you are printing in an economy that has no exchange, then it's not supported and then it's a disaster.
Yeah, very interesting. Very interesting. I'm thinking that in one of the first documentaries we produced, 2012 Time for Change, there was Bernard Lothier, this economist who was talking about alternative currency. And he was saying that you just have a different relationship with your air miles than with the money. And so in Japan, they started this money called Fuyakipur or something to help elderly people. And so this money we're giving can only be used to help. It was basically foster charitable and communal activities and local activities. And I need to look on that a bit more. I need to find a guest to invite on alternative currency.
So unfortunately, Bernard Lietaer died a few years ago. I studied with him.
Yes.
He's been one of my mentors in this particular field. I went to different conferences with him and really I learned a lot. And he wrote a book that I think now can be found online. It's called The Mystery of Money, in which he actually relates the imbalance with money to the repression of the feminine. And how patriarchy and patriarchal-based gods replace the cult of the goddess. Very, very interesting.
Say that again. Patriarchal?
Patriarchal systems replaced the society based on the presence of the goddess, of the feminine. And so he has been the first economist to really say you need alternative currency. So he came to Damanhur, he studied us.
But what is the link between the standard money and patriarchy?
So standard money, as we know it now, is based on the principle of accumulation. And with patriarchy,
you borrow,
and also with patriarchy is when, the repression of women started because you needed to know who was the mother of your children.
Yeah.
Because you needed to know that the land belonged to you and you wanted to pass it down. So you also needed a money that was centralized. It was only emitted, while before, for instance, the Egyptians had a very interesting system with money. They used gold and, the official money, which was gold or incense, to buy whatever they needed from the other states. But inside, they were paying their workers with clay tablets that had a value today, and the value was decreasing the more you accumulated it.
Wow, negative interest rate.
Because that was the idea of a feminine way. So I'm giving you this today, this is worth 2 kilos of rice. But if you keep it for a week, it's going to be worth a little less because we want the community to thrive.
Yeah.
And so in Damanhur, we applied this with another thing which is very important. If you want to talk about our structure and understand how it works, and also economy and finance, time. So in Damanhur, every one of us offers devotional time. So money is not just the things we touch, it's not the thing, it's just currency. our time is the most important value. We would not have temples. We would not have a sacred forest. We would not have our schools if in the beginning of all of these activities, we were not willing to do them without being paid, to allocate part of our time to do this. And we still do. This is one of our main rules. If you're part of our spiritual school, then you give some part of your time. Also because that allows you to develop something very important in this time and era, which is devotion. Devotion as dedication of your intentionality to something that has a value for you. So that helps you have meaning in your life.
Amazing. Beautiful said. Just to continue on my train of thought about the different main area that need to be addressed when you create a society, justice.
Justice, yes.
So how do Damanhurians treat people that break the rules?
Which rules?
For example, if someone doesn't come to the meeting at all, and is not in line with the principle of the Constitution.
Well, it depends for how long they're not in line with the principle of the Constitution. Yeah. Because if they're not, they would probably choose to leave. Why would you be in a place where you are there because of your intention if your intention is not that anymore?
Yeah.
So that problem kind of self-solves. And the only meetings in which we have like an obligation to be there are our weekly spiritual meetings. And I have the obligation of being there. But if I cannot, I simply send an email saying I cannot be there. But at least I give that thought. If I don't even say I'm not going to be there and I don't go, that is considered a lack of presence. And you cannot be spiritual and you cannot create anything new in the world if you're not at least present to yourself. Or the yearly rituals. And again, if you cannot be present, and then you would just say, I cannot be present. And we have ways in which you celebrate that ritual at a distance. But celebrating the solstices, the equinoxes, the ritual of the dead, for us is important because these are the spiritual and also physical rhythms of life that the earth herself is following according to the sun. So there is a reason why those are compulsory, because they are part of how we keep aligned to these new frequencies.
But what you described about, rational behavior of people who would then just leave if they don't want to participate. What about for teenagers? I mean,
Oh, teenagers is very funny because our teenagers, in Damanhur, we don't smoke. Nobody smokes. That's really a rule we've chosen, no smoking of any kind. And so, of course, many of our kids, when they become teenagers, the first thing they want to do, because we don't do it and we are so obsessed with no smoking, they smoke. And so we have in front of our main grounds, there is a piece of land that belongs to us also, but is not on the main ground. And they all gather there and they just smoke so that we can see them very well. And that's just one of the typical things they would do. Of course, they're teenagers, they're young, they experiment. And we all experimented. So, Damanhurian sons and daughters, when they become adults, they choose if they want to become Damanhurian citizens, but they're not obliged to. We try to pass on to them, a spiritual way of looking at life, but we are not trying to make them necessarily stay and live in Damanhur. We actually need some of these youth to go around the world, meet other youth, inspire them with what they have inside, and be inspired.
Be ambassadors. But what about, like midlife crisis, or, people have depressive episode or even panic episode? Is there like emotional and psychological support group?
Of course.
There's like a therapist.
We have therapists. Not just one, with many different modalities.
That also work for outside?
Yes, exactly. They were already therapists before coming to Damanhur, or they became therapists while, if they're younger, while they are in Damanhur, yes. We have psychologists of different schools. We have Jungian psychologists. We have other kinds of psychology. We also have a full branch of Damanhurian psychology that these psychologists have taken and integrated in the work.
Amazing.
And one of the bases of our psychology, which also helps answer your question, is the idea that we are all beings of multiple personalities. So very often, depression or panic or whatever is a not well-being in our psyche is because there is a part of us that is not being heard. And that normally also corresponds to an organ in the body, because personalities, these parts of us are also located in different organs. So a dis-ease normally is the fact that one of our parts is not feeling at ease anymore in that organ because there's no more integration. So our psychology looks, first of all, what is the part of you that needs more expression? What is that you need to do to feel more integrated? And then how would that affect your body? Or vice versa. If it starts in the body, we also look, okay, it's in your liver, but what is the part of you connected to your liver that is now not being expressed?
Yeah, a very holistic approach.
Very holistic.
What about conflict resolution? How is there a procedure if people disagree, if there's conflict? What is most typical conflict that happens in Damanhur, and how is it solved?
Well, they are, this is an interesting question. Sometimes there are conflicts simply for different personality style, and they happen mostly, I would say, with people that are newer in the community. So for this, we have experimented many models. We used to have people that wanted to become full-time citizens, join immediately one of the established families. Then we said, why do we have to go through their whole process of, not arguing for who has touched my toothbrush? So we said to them, okay, here's the house. You can live 1 year with all the new ones and figure it out. But that also was not helping them so much. So now it's again, they come to our families. Mostly that. So lack of adaptability. It's one of the reasons for conflicts, normally on stupid things, because that's where we always are more sensitive, not on the big principles, but on really, why did you touch my glass? This kind of things. So that is more about showing them how an exaggerated reaction creates ripples in the whole, everyone living there. So being very tolerant and at the same time telling people, look, maybe that particular behavior you have, which is maybe connected to one specific part of you, is not so harmonious. So it's not the whole person that is wrong, it's a part that they're manifesting. So we don't make ourselves feel like we're monsters. It's just that part of you with that part of me, or that part of you with the part of with the collective.
Yeah, you mentioned this term quasi-reale,
yes.
Almost reality.
Almost. So we are convinced that each one of us lives by definition. This is human nature. We are in our quasi-real. So my reality is a quasi-reality. Yours is another quasi-reality. So if I accept this, I also know you're not coming at me because you want to hurt me.
You don't take it personally, yeah.
You take it less personally. Yeah. And we also see how do we create a common quasi-reality that works for everyone in the best possible way.
Yeah, yeah.
Knowing that perfection is never there. Yeah. Living in community is not easy. Yeah. Living in community is not idyllic, for sure. Yeah. If you have some stuff going on with you, you're going to meet it because the ones around you are going to be the mirror for that.
Yes.
For the best in you and for what you still need to work on.
Yeah, yeah,
for
yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
So I want to say this, because people sometimes think, community is the solution for everything. No. Community is hard work. Is it rewarding? Yes. Is it what I believe is absolutely necessary for the future of humanity? Yes. But it's not easy.
But so if someone wants to join Damanhur, how is the process?
So if someone wants to join Damanhur really fully, the process would be that they start coming, they take some seminars, they visit, they feel if they like it, they start getting some information about our spiritual school, because Damanhur is most of all, as I said, an initiation school. And then if they really think, I really love this spiritual path, I love how they're living, I want to live here, then they will choose how. They will choose, do I want to live in one of the community homes of Damanhur or create one of another new community homes, but being full in the context? Or I want to be part of the activities, I want to be part of the spiritual school, but I want my own home and maybe with some friends. Now these are all possibilities. And we also are hoping that more and more people would come, maybe with their own spiritual path, maybe with their own project, buy land there, and together we create something new. But they could take advantage of the incredible spiritual energies of the temples, of the land that we have been taking care of with so much love for so long, and also all the practical things we have. Health, system, school, agriculture, all of that is already there.
But before all that, they have to find a job.
Well, sometimes they find the job when they're there. Lots of people nowadays work online, so this is making it easier for many younger people.
Yeah, they had to have some sort of income.
Absolutely.
But less than what is required if they move to a single home.
That depends. It depends on how they want to live.
It depends on how they want to live. But there is the option to live in a building with 20 people when the rent is divided by 20.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But then again, if that building with 20 people where the rent is divided by 20, but that family has chosen that their project is to build a crystal dome, then you would maybe, be also expensive. It depends. It really depends.
I see.
There is so much flexibility.
Amazing.
We are not only things in terms of money to buy things, but most of all, what is the energy of money that we need for the projects that we want to develop?
It's a new dimension of the capitalistic model, which I think is critical. The purpose part, I really feel that that's the important piece missing because, like you have the gross domestic product that doesn't mean anything. It just, when there's like an accident on the highway and 100 people die, GDP goes up. So it's not connected with the well-being of the society. And same thing, the shareholder value is just the bottom line. And that bottom line doesn't tell you about the well-being of the people. Like in Bhutan, they have the gross domestic happiness product. Okay, so last practical question. So this Damanhur is 600 people spread out around 3 areas, you said?
No, we said four different regions, yes. Four main areas, yes.
In this valley?
Yes.
Called?
Val Chiusella. Which is north of Torino, north of Ivrea, very close to Mont Blanc.
Yeah.
We are in the Prealps.
Yeah, beautiful. And in Val Chiusella, there is a village.
There are many villages.
The biggest one, how is it called?
I don't know, because they're rather small. Maybe the biggest one is Vidracco.
Vidracco, how many citizens has Vidracco?
500.
500, I see. And there's several like Vidracco.
Yes.
Like 3, 4?
No, more. I'm not sure. Maybe 12, 13.
Within 50 square kilometer, something like that. Yeah. I see. Now, I think your model is fantastic. I always wanted to come, and now after that I met you, I want definitely to come. So we just reached 1 hour. That's perfect timing. For me, what is one of the objectives with this podcast is to really empower people with with personal development, with regeneration. That's a theme we cover often. And it seems that this model you described is a very powerful tool for people that are dissatisfied with the default society, with the neoliberal capitalism based on mostly individual success and material accumulation. So imagine we had 20, 30 people listening to us right now that are ready, or maybe not. Let's say there's 2 types of people. There is a group of 20, 30 people that they already figure it out, all the details on how they want to live in community. And then there's another group which they want to live in community, but they are looking for advice, maybe to join a community. So which advice you have for these 2 groups of people?
Well, for both groups of people, the beginning would be to know that even if they already have the principles, they will have to see how they work in reality.
Test it, yeah.
Right? Test it. So to be open for change for both groups of people. And to both groups of people, I would say, in any case, look at what is already existing on the planet. There are communities like Damanhur, Findern, Oroville that have been around for almost 50 years. And then others, they are younger, but still with a lot of history, like Tamera, for instance, in Portugal. And you can find information on all of them on the Global Ecovillages Network that gives you information on communities in the 5 continents.
Yeah, gen.com?
Yes, gen.org.
Yeah, we'll put it on the show note anyway.
But also Global Ecovillages Network, you'll find it.
Find it.
Study There is this beautiful project called Gaia Education, which is again taught in some of communities. Damanhur is one of the communities that offers this, but also others where they teach you all the principles on how you create an organic community. And then each community shows you how they applied those principles there specifically. And then choose, do you want to really start from zero somewhere else? Or maybe you want to buy land near an existing community where you experiment with your own community, but you have the support of maybe hundreds of people that have already been doing it. Because I meet people wanting to create community all over, and everyone is starting from scratch, which is a good idea also, because then we have different places. But what if we could create 2-3 areas in the world that are very strong in showing how humans live together with this idea of the future? And then when they're really strong, these places start building also satellites or inspire the world. Because I think we still need a few more people, a few more thousands of people to be able to create full areas of this new way of living in the world.
Yeah, that's interesting. And if people wants to come to Damanhur, you says that they need to have, they need to resonate with the constitution. They want to live there, but then, what kind of activity do you think is missing in terms of real, money making activity? Like, does Damanhur needs a newspaper? I don't know,
we have a newspaper daily. We've had it from the beginning because that's an information, shared information. Everyone always knowing what's going on from a new child.
Yeah, for example.
No, but that's a key point that you're saying. That's why I'm underlining it, because for new communities, remember, shared information is so important to keep your history. And also when new people come, they can read and say, oh, wow, look, this is what they did before. And also to give you an assessment how much you've grown. Very important to keep something that creates this glue.
Yeah, like for example, like a gym. Do you have a gym?
No, unfortunately, we don't have a gym.
Okay, so for people that are listening, if you want to create, because it seems that the difference between Damanhur and most community that I'm aware of is that there is the imprenditorial aspect as well.
Yeah. So what we are really missing, because we've been concentrating so much in creating sacred space, so that we could tap into these new frequencies that are awakening humanity, creating an antenna. So we build these temples. They are huge. We're talking about 9 monumental halls excavated by hand inside a mountain, 2 million buckets of rock, and thousands of square meters of paintings, glasswork, mosaic. This is not a temple that is a room. This is a huge complex. And then we've been building schools and a healing system, and we've been building ritual spaces with huge standing stones as big as Stonehenge. And then we have the farms. We've been really concentrating on the fundamental aspects of life. The divine, the reconnect. We have not had a lot of time to party. We have not had a lot of time to create gyms. And what we need now is people that want to come there, bring their experiences in how do we bridge a reality so concentrated on the sacred, the future, the transformation with the new languages of the world.
Beautiful. So people out there, if you want to create, if you are a 5 rhythm certified teacher, do you know about 5 rhythm?
Yes, of course.
And you can create a group with 10 people, and you can build a dance space in Damanhur with the top of the
absolutely
hi-fi system.
Yeah. And invite maybe people from around the world to come to the 5 rhythms and also go visit the temple. So we help each other grow.
Amazing. And same thing if you want to create a gym or a martial arts center or a cooking school. I mean, that you have probably, a cooking school.
We don't have a cooking school per se. We have amazing chefs. So we have a tradition of cooking, for instance, with flowers, with many wild herbs. So we have people teaching that, but not a formal school. That could be a fantastic idea.
So there is a lot to do. I will try to help you and find some new entrepreneurial resident. I forgot we should spend some little bit more time. You mentioned at the end, but let's explain the story of the temples. How 20, 30 people build the 8th wonder in the world with no experience in structural engineering, architecture, art. how that happened.
I don't know. We don't know. This was the impossible dream of Damanhur. It was so impossible. It happened. You ask the people that were there from the beginning, you ask, how did you do it? They say, we don't know. It's something that you can't, it's impossible to understand how that happened, but it happened.
But there was a map.
So the founder had a map that in the mythical story was given to him by, intelligences that were not from this earth. So he had a map, he knew where the holes were, but how then they managed to actually do it without anything collapsing, nobody getting hurt, in complete secret for 16 years. It's a mystery also to us that sometimes we have difficulties in even transmitting to the new Damanhurians how this was possible.
Incredible. What, if people want to look at photos, video, articles, where would you recommend people to start their research?
So they can go online and look at the Temples of Humankind, or thetemples.org is the official website. Very simple, thetemples.org, or damanhur.org, DAMANHUR.org.
Yeah, we'll write everything in the show note. Esperide, it has been such a pleasure, so refreshing to have met you, to have learned more about this community and this beautiful flexibility between the capitalistic system. People usually are so concerned about the lack of because I think what is important from the competition is this idea of fostering creativity.
Exactly. That's why I said to you before, why not competition? We have competition, but competition not against each other, competition to whom is creating the best project for the collective
For
good.
the collective, exactly.
Because otherwise you stop creative impulses in people.
Yeah, I think creativity and vitality, they go together. And it's, I think, one of our basic needs. So fantastic. I'm super excited. I feel really reinvigorated by this conversation. Anything else that you want to cover that we might have forgot?
Just that if someone who is listening to this is inspired to interview me or other Damanhurians again to help us make Damanhur and other communities well known, I'm available. I'll be very happy. Let's take this as far as possible, to as many years as possible.
Yes. So spiritual entrepreneur out there shows up. Where do they find you?
They can write an email to me.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's too old fashioned for today.
That's great. What is it?
It's my name, Esperide, ESPERIDE, @damanhur.org.
And also will be in the show line. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you so much, and thank you all for listening.
Thank you. Peace.
Koka sunarai sunarayente. 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 Koka sunarai sunarayente.